Cecil Perdium was best known as a recluse with a blade, a certified lunatic, and the family's least useful heir. Once written off as a spoiled relic, he'd quietly shed the title and the attitude. His opponent, a burly veteran, was now eating dirt, courtesy of the useless son he had underestimated. Cecil, meanwhile, didn't even break a sweat. Privately, he was thrilled. Turns out, investing in elaborate traps really paid dividends. With a smug glance, he clearly wondered if the beard was enjoying the twist. The insult hit hard. The beard fumed, realizing the whole thing had been foreseen. Cecil made no secret of it. This wasn't luck, it was premeditated mastery. From troop counts to traitors and backup plans, he had every detail down cold. In short, nothing had escaped him. The bearded one blinked, stunned that this wasn't guesswork. Shock turned to shouting, disbelief dripping from every word. Furious that even his secret weapon flopped, the man raged. Ghislaine was unimpressed. One kick later, the ranting stopped. Ghislaine clearly wasn't here for monologues. Regardless of the fight, he walked in certain he'd win, and somehow, he always did. Simple reason, the guy had a cheat sheet for life. Flashback to nearly a year prior, Ghislaine woke up near Perdium Estate, utterly confused. He was alive somehow, which was weird, because he shouldn't be. In fact, he was supposed to be dead, like, certified. Last memory? A brutal showdown with Idun, one of the continent's elite, and it hadn't gone well. But Ghislaine wasn't some nobody. He was one of the continent's top mercenary kings. Idun had mocked him before the kill, surprised to find Perdium trash still walking around after vanishing post-tragedy. That jab hit a nerve. Ghislaine clearly hadn't expected the guy to know so much. Idun, smug as ever, claimed he'd been keeping tabs for ages. The name drop hits like a punch, so it wasn't just the Delphines who wrecked his family? Great, now it's a whole conspiracy. Turns out one of the mystery culprits decided to show up in person. How thoughtful. Just as rage peaked and revenge plots brewed, Eden calmly chopped his head off. Talk about terrible timing. He blinked awake, very much intact, which made no sense since heads aren't supposed to grow back. Not a scratch in sight. And hold on, was that a smoother jawline? Confused, he scanned his surroundings until someone yelled, "Young master," like it was the good old days. Ricardo, a loyal soldier, found himself with a sword to the neck. His welcome back party just got interesting. The poor guy, clearly clueless, nods like answering questions is his favorite hobby now. Internally, Ricardo wonders why swords are suddenly part of basic conversations. Ghislaine, half expecting betrayal, looks puzzled by Ricardo's loyalty instead. Ricardo shrugs him off, casually reminding him he passed out mid-tantrum not too long ago. Apparently, the real drama was planning an orc raid, not existential panic. None of this adds up, and Ghislaine's brain politely crashes. Ricardo tells him to gear up and move. Apparently, a crowd's been waiting. When asked where to, Ricardo casually drops the bomb. They're headed to Perdium Estate. Ghislaine stares, baffled. Wasn't the estate a pile of ashes last time he checked? From the hilltop there it stood. Perdium Estate, alive and well, ignoring its previously destroyed status. Ricardo mutters a warning, calling the place fallen, might earn him an early exile if the Count hears. A cheek pinch confirms this isn't a dream, and wow, his face just downgraded in age. Everything adds up to one wild conclusion: time travel. Back then, he was bitter, insecure, and a bit of a walking disaster. Eventually, the household gave up on him, and he gave up on sticking around. Out on his own, he leveled up fast, battle-scarred, seasoned, and known far and wide. He came back to fix things only to find ruins. And now, the ruins are gone, like it never happened. Everyone he lost is back. It's surreal, but no time for celebration. There are orcs to raid first. That day was burned into memory. The one where Chasing Glory led half his squad straight into the meat grinder. The intel said 3 orcs. Rookie Ghislaine figured, how hard could it be without ever leading anyone before? Turns out, there were over 20. His pride wrote a check the squad couldn't cash. Now he's sure he can handle it. Orc tactics are trash, but good luck convincing a squad that thinks he's a walking joke. Before any plans are made, a watchtower explodes and orcs come barreling in like a demolition crew. Surprise! The horde's early, and he's mentally buffering like a laggy stream. The orcs are mowing down soldiers like it's their full-time job. One orc alone is basically a wrecking ball in a loincloth. Commander Scovin dives in, barking orders to hold formation. Classic battlefield panic mode. Sadly, no formation stopping these monsters from turning the place into a butcher shop. Even Scovin looks ready to write his will. Too many orcs, zero prep, and the ambush is absolutely brutal. A shout spins Scovin around just in time to see a giant with an axe aiming for his skull. No time to dodge. Hell about to get flattened. Out of nowhere, Ghislaine lunges in, drags Scovin aside, and slices the beast's hand like he's prepping a salad. The whole squad freezes. Turns out the useless guy has moves. Especially shocking since everyone had him pegged as garbage tier. The monster drops, and Ghislaine's only gripe is his magic still refuses to show up. He strolls over, casually offers a hand, and demands command like he just clocked in for work. Scovin, unsurprisingly, shuts it down. He's not handing the reins to some alleged deadweight. Scovin throws in a rhetorical jab. Does Ghislaine think this is cosplay? Title or not, Scovin's not about to hand over command just because the boss's kid looks dramatic. Not shocking, he knew they'd doubt him. Still, it ticks him off. As if on cue, another beast charges in to ruin the vibe. Scovin leaps in again, still convinced this kid shouldn't be steering the ship. Guess it's time for Ghislain to stop asking and start proving. His sword shot forward like a missile, slamming into the monster with unreal speed. The commander launched into a scolding tirade, clearly unimpressed by the bold move. The rant died mid-word as he spotted the orc, now a one-hit casualty of the flying blade. The orc hit the ground like a sack of regrets. The commander's face twisted into a look better suited for a bad bathroom trip. Ghislain gave him the silent, "Do you even battle?" look, which the clueless commander definitely didn't pass. He turned to the troops, who looked ready to faint from fear. Scovin got a crash course in Morale 101. Scared troops don't win battles. Step 1, Ghislain figured, was to actually get moving. He dashed forward, yanked his sword free from Orc's skull, and took to the skies. He crash-landed on another orc and buried the blade straight into its cranium. Scovin blinked like his vision needed a software update. Ghislain stood tall, basically daring the monsters to get in line for a beatdown. The orcs charged, and Ghislain sliced through them like a blender on turbo mode. Scovin just stared, completely outpaced by the blur of limbs and steel. He couldn't wrap his head around how the scrawny kid was outclassing even seasoned mana users. Tired or not, Ghislain's sword danced through weak points with surgical precision. Mana or not, giving up clearly wasn't on Ghislain's to-do list. He taunted them with his eyes, silently roasting their so-called warrior pride. The soldiers watched in stunned silence as every orc made a beeline for their young leader. Cries for orders rang out, but the commander was too busy hiding behind his fear. The commander stared, baffled by the madman sprinting toward a cliff with orcs on his tail. The plan finally clicked. Ghislain was about to cliff drop his problems. Snapping back to reality, the commander barked for shields up, ready to follow the kid's wild plan. Behind him, the orcs thundered forward, none the wiser. He trusted Scovin's sharp mind would catch on to his scheme without a hitch. The urge to cut down every orc was strong, but his stamina had other plans. The plan wasn't perfect, but it was clever enough to work. Reaching the cliff's edge, the orcs caught sight of soldiers bracing behind them. He leapt off the cliff without a second thought, cueing Scovin to move. Soldiers surged forward, shoving orcs off the cliff, turning the battle deadly fast. The plan succeeded flawlessly. No orc survived the fall. Exhaustion settled over the soldiers like a heavy cloak. Scovin froze, stunned to see him clinging to the cliff's edge. His sword jammed firmly and the rock held him up. No fear cracked his face, only a confident smirk locked on Scovin. Scovin's surprise softened into a proud smile behind his big mustache. His hand shot out but fell short. The grip on the sword slipped loose. He began to fall, leaving everyone stunned by the sudden twist. Ghislain slipped toward unconsciousness, faintly hearing his sister's voice and scattered memories. Confusion clouded his mind, unsure of what was happening. Suddenly, his sister's grip yanked him back from the fading dream. He woke in bed, reality sinking in fast. His first thought was disbelief. How was he still alive? Attempting to sit, pain shot through his body, forcing him to crawl instead. Every ache was a reminder of his limits pushed, and a sign he was still breathing. Just then, a maid entered, beaming at her master's awakening. Recognition hit Belinda. She voiced her frustration, teasing him for the stress caused. Without warning, Ghislain embraced her tightly, unable to hold back. Though puzzled, she sensed the joy behind his unexpected warmth after all those years. Belinda had been his loyal maid since childhood, sticking by him through thick and thin. Even when he caused chaos, she stayed loyal. After the family's fall, she vanished. He never expected to see her again. Finally, he decided it was time to share the harsh truth with her. He warned of a looming disaster and revealed he'd actually died and returned to life. Naturally, Belinda brushed off his wild story as nonsense. She acknowledged the orcs nearly finished him, but dismissed the rest, scolding him for his recklessness. Giving up on convincing her, he listened as she reminded him about the festival he might miss if hurt. The festival mentioned surprised him, so she pointed out Elena was eager to attend together, a chance to reconnect. Ghislain finally recalled the yearly festival, one he never enjoyed before due to past trauma. He asked how soon it was. She said about a week away. That festival stuck in his mind as the day of a tragic event that haunted him forever. Shockingly, Elena's death was tied to that very festival day. Just then, Elena appeared, and he couldn't resist rushing into a sudden hug. Elena was caught off guard by the unexpected hug, blushing and suspecting a prank. Unbeknownst to her, his affection was genuine and heartfelt. When he refused to let go, she pulled him away with surprising strength. Ghislain struggled briefly, no match for Elena's unexpected muscle. Their strained relationship showed as Elena admitted she only came because Belinda asked. Elena clearly recalled a past insult from him that still stung. Ghislain had no clue about the insult until now, realizing their past wasn't close. Honestly, he'd been a jerk. His rare apology shocked both women. Admitting fault was so unlike him, they joked maybe orc blows scrambled his brain. He quickly denied that, insisting he'd actually taken down some orcs himself. Just then, a sharp pain hit, doubling him over unexpectedly. Elena seized the moment to tease him further. Clearly, the orcs won that round. Though the comments sounded sharp, Ghislain felt a warm familiarity and smiled. Sure, everyone was just as he remembered. He found himself wondering why the old hymn dragged on with pointless lines. During next week's festival, Ghislain declined Elena's invite, blaming the raid squad drama for his mood. That was their last meeting. Later, Elena and her guards were found brutally slain. The regret of not being there still weighed heavily on Ghislain. A sudden knock broke the silence, drawing their focus. A group of knights showed up, her bodyguards Jamal and Philip leading the way. Elena questioned their early arrival. They explained servants needed her to supervise festival prep. Ghislain was puzzled why Elena had to manage such tasks. Belinda sighed at his cluelessness, explaining worker shortages meant even Elena had to pitch in. News to Ghislain, who'd never cared before. Now present, he resolved to lend a hand. His sister's surprise showed once more. Both wondered if his head injury explained this sudden helpfulness. Later, the busy festival grounds buzzed as everyone hurried to set up. The crowd got uneasy hearing Ghislain wanted to join the work. His sister tried to push him off, questioning how to handle his eagerness. She suggested the best help was keeping clear and out of trouble. Ghislain refused to leave her alone. Knowing her body was found near the slums, he needed to learn the castle inside out to protect her. Just then, a knight burst in, urgently calling Ghislain's name. It was old man Fergus, out of breath but determined. Fergus gasped for breath, then teared up, sharing his worry over the orc attack. His sister noted his odd behavior and agreed Fergus should take charge. Ghislain reluctantly agreed, seeing no other option. He asked Fergus to lead him to the old training field. Fergus raised an eyebrow at the request. Ghislain kept it simple, he wanted to train. The mustached man didn't quite get Ghislain's plan, but wisely chose not to pry. He led Ghislain straight to the training hall without hesitation. Ghislain was surprised. The training hall looked way better than he'd imagined. The place was ideal, stocked with gear even his mercenary days hadn't offered. The old man revealed they'd kept the hall ready, always believing Ghislain would bounce back. Ghislain realized just how much the old man had quietly backed him all this time. It hit him hard. He'd been oblivious, and now felt bad for the late awakening. A pat and a grim joke about death's awfulness left the old man puzzled yet amused. Ghislain dropped the bomb. He'd actually died and come back to life. The old man dismissed the claim as nonsense while Ghislain waved him off to start training. Watching Fergus's respect, Ghislain pondered how he'd once seen everyone as foes. In hindsight, he admitted he'd been pretty short-sighted. Whatever the past, Ghislain got back to business. He remembered a neighboring lord had a hand in Elena's death. That sparked a war that dragged Perdium to ruin. Elena's death kicked off his house's fall, so fixing it was now his mission. First priority, get in shape. Time was short, but mana control was doable. Mana was the magic fuel to break limits, with sensing and absorbing it the toughest hurdle. Ghislain, though, could catch mana mid-battle like it was nothing. He gathered floating mana particles, weaving them like spinning thread. After tens of thousands of fights, building a mana core was a breeze. His secret, a half-burned magic book that kept him in the Elite 7. Using his natural core, he spun up a second and third with ease. He linked them into a powerful mesh ready to explode with energy. Pushing too hard, sweat poured down his face, blood leaking from nose and mouth. He hit his limit, 5 mana cores maxed out before the explosive technique drained him fast. The catch, it demanded a massive mana toll every time. That mana drain cost him dearly against Eden, who showed up with reinforcements while he was spent. Without the unfair numbers, victory would have been his. Those backing House Delphine, the real traitors who shattered their land, they were next on his list. 1 week later, festival day dawned. He strode through town, gear in place, confidence unshaken. His sister's surprised face appeared as he passed by. Never a fan of festivals, his sudden attendance and odd behavior, training non-stop, caught her off guard. Ghislain shrugged it off, claiming training was just part of his noble duties. She fired back, recalling his hatred for lordship, the root of their father's quarrels, but left smiling. Happy he seemed to change. Her words made him realize his shifts were reshaping both his image and future path. The big picture stayed intact, but how his moves rippled through the small stuff grew less clear. Using future knowledge wisely was now on him, tackling every challenge head-on. He steeled himself to confront those who took his sister. Time with his sister passed, vigilance never slipping. Elena soon grew bored, calling the festival just another year's copy-paste. Same old, in her eyes. Ghislain's mind churned. Festival ending quietly hinted the future might be shifting, thanks to his close watch. Just then, her bodyguards arrived, proposing a move to a livelier spot. Watching them leave, Ghislain's suspicions clicked into place. Those traitors backing their house ruin were behind this move. Jamal and Philip, Elena's lifelong trusted knights, had famously died shielding her in Ghislain's previous life. Now, Ghislain couldn't shake a nagging feeling of doubt. He suspected a trap, convinced these knights had turned traitor. Quietly, he decided to tail them. They reached a deserted spot, leaving Elena visibly annoyed and grumbling. Her complaints only fueled Ghislain's growing suspicion. The street looked deserted at first glance, but blocked exits revealed a carefully laid trap. His focus broke when Elena tugged him along unexpectedly. Her surprising strength made him wonder if she'd been secretly hitting the gym. Jamal abruptly halted her forward charge. His grim expression screamed bad news. Elena trembled, panic creeping in over their odd behavior. Jamal's quick apology twisted into an even creepier grin. He asked her to wait a bit longer, a small favor. Fear and hopelessness washed over Elena. Then, someone new entered the scene. A glasses-wearing man, Frank, showed up with 2 goons, clearly satisfied with Jamal's work. Frank questioned Jamal about Ghislaine, confused over this unexpected detail. Jamal assured Frank he'd handle Ghislaine, who'd blindly walked into a trap, no extra cost needed. At last, Ghislaine confronted the scumbag, questioning his escape plan after betraying Perdium. The traitors snickered, unbothered, planning to vanish into some distant land. He was fed up with this broken, barbarian-ravaged land. He claimed many others wanted out too, until Ghislaine cut him off cold. Words were replaced by a sudden spray of blood from his mouth. The scene left everyone watching utterly stunned. The traitor fell apart, while Ghislaine's furious glare reminded him loyalty wasn't so easily abandoned. Enraged, he locked eyes with the next target, who panicked and pulled Lena closer, hoping to avoid a quick end. His hopes were dashed instantly. A sword found its mark, silencing him for good. Frank's lackeys hesitated, doubting if this untrained guy was truly Perdium's eldest son. Frank, however, was certain of his identity. Yet Frank couldn't explain how the guy toppled 2 foes so smoothly, especially with mana-powered strikes. Meanwhile, the girl clung to her brother, shaking. A swift hit sent her out cold, a forced break from the chaos. Frank, begrudgingly thankful, claimed he intended to deal with those knights, before Ghislaine beat him to it. He couldn't resist praising those godlike skills and asking their mysterious origin. Ghislaine didn't entertain the question, making it clear the answer wasn't their concern. He scanned the trio, spotting mana only from the guy in the middle. Regardless, Ghislaine was set to end things fast. Before striking, he demanded their employer's name. Frank just smirked, implying dying men don't get answers. Ghislaine expected silence, but had his own persuasive methods ready. A lackey suggested beheading him. Frank vetoed, wanting slow torture instead. Frank aimed for maximum agony, a slow burn of pain and helplessness. The goons charged in unison. Ready for them, Ghislaine tossed a firecracker their way. The odd tactic stunned one lackey briefly. Firecrackers weren't standard combat gear. That tiny distraction was Ghislaine's opening. A lightning strike took down one goon instantly. The next attacker rushed in, but Ghislaine was prepared. With swift moves, he blocked, disarmed, and yanked the sword away. The man was cut down effortlessly, like a breeze through paper. His henchman down, the leader launched a cowardly sneak attack from behind. Reflexes sharp as a whip, the attack was blocked with casual ease. The leader froze, stunned that his perfect ambush was utterly spoiled. No hesitation, a swift counterstrike was launched. The blade flashed so fast Frank barely caught the movement. The sword sliced deep, Frank's pipe clattered to the floor. Frank tried again, but the block was just as effortless. Frank admitted only his mana kept his throat intact. Even Ghislaine admired how Frank channeled mana to shield his neck. Pretty wild. Frank, all in, gripped his sword and charged full force. Then the grin on Ghislaine's face caught him off guard. The grin threw him off, like Ghislaine was inviting the fight. Before Frank could react, Ghislaine kicked him square in the face. Frank stayed upright, smirking, confident his mana made him untouchable. That confidence shattered as he started hacking up blood. Confusion painted his face. No clue what just went wrong. Despite heavy mana armor, disbelief hit him. Ghislaine's skill pierced through. Ghislaine, fueled by new truths about his sister's death, prepared to make Frank regret it. Activating his third core, power surged visibly. Frank froze. Disbelief locked in his eyes, too late as Ghislaine closed the distance. Their blades danced so fast only streaks of light remained visible. Frank fought hard, pouring every ounce of strength into the clash. Still fatigue crept in. Numb hands betrayed his faltering defense despite mana reserves. The sword cracked, bending under overwhelming force. Such an explosive mana boost delivered with sharp precision was unheard of to Frank. Ghislaine transformed, landing a fierce strike that tore into Frank's skin. Yet, Ghislaine wasn't finished. Annihilate blade plunged deep into his sister's murderer. Still, death was withheld. Burning questions demanded answers first. Gritting teeth, he pressed for the mastermind behind Elena's death. The bastard wasn't about to spill secrets easily. He pulled out slick ninja daggers fast. Threads suddenly trapped his hand mid-throw. Those threads belonged to Ghislaine. Ghislaine offered one last chance. Answer well, and the sword would stay sheathed. Frank's mind blew again, realizing those threads were pure mana. Ghislaine figured a guy like this knew basic self-healing, though that wouldn't matter if his mana core got destroyed first. Without hesitation, Ghislaine channeled magic into the blade lodged in the bastard's gut. A scream tore out as the mana core shattered inside him. It was a risky move. Any slip could cause a mana explosion, wrecking the whole place. It almost looked like Ghislaine was about to blow himself up. Luckily, Ghislaine wasn't some rookie and handled it with ease. Even the long-haired bastard saw the truth. He was basically dead. Looking into Ghislaine's eyes, all he saw was a bloodthirsty reaper. Finally, Frank spilled the name, Count Desmond, the real puppeteer. He admitted it was all a scheme to spark war and protect families. Gislin's reaction made it clear Count Desmond wasn't a favorite. In his past life, covert tasks fell to families allied with dukes. He suspected Duke Delphi masterminded this whole mess. Regardless, the glasses-wearing foe came to end his sister's life. Revenge fueled him to bring down this enemy too, settling old scores. Frank couldn't believe Ghislaine was softening his stance. Ghislaine reminded him of his crimes. Yet, the bastard chuckled even as the end neared. The enemy was convinced his death wouldn't stop the war or save Perdium. It was already doomed. Ing silenced him with a swift hand over his foul mouth. He revealed he'd come back stronger, unwilling to let history repeat itself. That was the last thing Frank heard before the Manticore core began to shatter. Mana backfired, bursting skyward in a spectacular twisted firework. Ghislaine gasped for air but knew the threat was finally neutralized. His gaze landed on his sister, unconscious but peacefully safe. Closing his eyes to rest, blood spilled and pain doubled him over. Once a Mercenary King, core explosions were easy. Now his weaker body held him back. Still, he refused to surrender. He hurried to a nearby house, uncovering a corpse. Officials had once found more than just Elena's body there. That corpse belonged to Degarda's son, according to Frank. Another victim was the escort knight, caught in the crossfire. Finding these bodies sparked Perdium's belief that Degard was behind Elena's death, and war ignited instantly. Ghislaine chose to erase every trace. He burned the house to ashes, then carried his sister away. Meanwhile, a shady cap-wearing figure lurked in the shadows, watching. Later, the Watcher reported failure to the Council of Schemers. The Council's mood soured instantly. The hooded man blamed Cecil Perdium for the mess. The name raised eyebrows. How could a nobody from the north pull off such a bold play? A council member dismissed Ghislaine as useless, doubting why he was blamed for the failed mission. Yet the informer insisted Ghislaine was nothing like the rumors. He acted with surprising skill. His smooth handling made Ghislaine seem like a new man altogether. He promised the council the situation was under control, so the war could proceed smoothly. A plea for one more shot to prove his worth followed. Anger erupted. This failure had everyone on edge, demanding Ghislaine be taken out, no questions asked. Then the top dog stepped in to cut through the tension. He asked about the plan, and the hooded man said a duel would happen natural, with a strong contender ready. The challenger was Cain Loges, famed for raw strength and swordsmanship. Young but a powerhouse, Cain was strength personified. No one in the north was believed to match Cain's might. Plus, Cain being Ghislaine's cousin made the duel seem natural, not forced. Silence fell as the council mulled over the plan. The top boss warned, another failure meant no third chance. The hooded man scrambled to promise success. Cut to Perdium's training hall. Fergus showed up, ready to announce mealtime. Suddenly, Fergus spotted a rope of glowing mana flying his way. The mana rope snagged a sword nearby and yanked it back with lightning speed. Ghislaine smiled, happy to see his mana skills improving after all the practice. Then an old man appeared, bowed politely, and apologized for breaking the training vibe. Curiosity got the better of him as he wondered aloud how Ghislaine pulled off that trick. Ghislaine casually explained it was mana threads, basically, mana used like string. He mentioned in his past life it was easy, but now he had to push his core to the limit due to weaker mana reserves. Still, by limiting threads to one, he could manage his mana smartly and use it well. Fergus admitted he'd trained long and hard but never witnessed mana threads used this way. The old man recalled Ghislaine hadn't used mana before, much less trained with it until recently. He wondered how Ghislaine even dreamed up using mana in such a clever way. Fergus quickly refocused on why he showed up in the first place. With a humble nod, Fergus thanked him for keeping the young lady safe. Ghislaine shrugged off thanks. It was family, no favors needed. Days later, the festival stalled. No surprise after a Guardian Knight's shady trafficking attempt. Elena looked fed up, frustrated. Nobody believed Ghislaine saved her. She pushed him to convince others, but he just shrugged. No point, they wouldn't buy it anyway. Belinda was fuming, knowing Jamal and Philly were the real culprits targeting Elena. Regardless, Ghislaine was relieved his sister lived and war was averted. He knew the troublemakers wouldn't quit soon. He'd need a stronger army to keep up. Just then, a maid appeared carrying food. Ghislaine raised an eyebrow at the dry bread served instead of a proper meal. Belinda explained the simple fare was one fallout from recent chaos. Suddenly, a loud merchant ranted for compensation over the festival's abrupt end. Turns out, it wasn't just one. An entire mob of merchants gathered, protesting. Their ask was straightforward. Pay up for their losses. Ghislaine glanced outside, curious about the ruckus below. Belinda reminded him the economy depended heavily on festival profits. The previous year had been booming. No wonder merchants were furious after a one-day festival. Ghislaine suddenly realized just how shaky the country's economy really was. He understood ignoring the merchants would only stir more trouble. He ordered Fergus to deploy soldiers to settle the mob. Fergus casually admitted there were no soldiers to send. Most troops were busy repairing orc raid damage in the monster-infested forest. Ghislaine's problems were worse than he guessed. Perdium was stuck in endless war, fighting barbarians up north and facing monsters that could pop out from the forest anytime. Without funds, soldiers were out of reach, piling more stress on his shoulders. He pulled Belinda aside, quietly reminding her that as the money manager, she needed to find a way to soothe the merchants. She laid it out plainly, there was no money left. She reminded him the Lord had cut his allowance due to his reckless spending. The idea of being broke didn't sit well. He demanded she lend him some cash. She shrugged, saying she had none to spare either. With no money and no soldiers, it felt like he had nothing going for him. Even his future know-how couldn't help without cash. Just then, Ricardo burst in, out of breath. Gasping for air, Ricardo's urgency was clear. Something big was up. He blurted out there was a problem. No time to waste. Word came that Kane wanted a meeting. This caught Ghislaine completely off guard. Meanwhile, Kane was dismantling Commander Scoven like he was nothing. Kane's raw power was crushing Scoven's face like a ripe tomato. Every punch hit like a hammer strike. It was obvious Kane wasn't holding anything back. The final blow knocked Scoven out cold. Ghislaine showed up just as his knight hit the ground, badly beaten. Anger flared in Ghislaine's eyes as he faced his towering cousin. Kane was so massive, Ghislaine looked like a scrawny kid next to him. Kane's grin wasn't friendly, it was downright intimidating. Towering Kane didn't come alone, his escort knight trailed behind. Kane Logis, heir of Logis County, was both ally and rival to House Perdium. He was Ghislaine's only friend and fiercest enemy at once. After crushing Scoven, Kane strode toward Ghislaine like a storm. Ghislaine stayed cool, quietly pressing Ricardo for what had sparked the mess. Ricardo recapped a tavern disturbance where Kane and his knight were the main players. Kane confronted Scoven about the buzz surrounding Ghislaine's reputation. Scoven laid out the rumors, trying to clarify what people said about Ghislaine. Kane snapped, silencing Scoven. Lying near the heir of Logis wasn't an option. Ricardo ended the flashback there. Kane's knight interrupted, filling in gaps Ricardo skipped, pointing out Scoven's claims that Ghislaine never trained. He boasted Ghislaine crushed an orc barehanded and handled Traitors solo. Scoven's beating was just payback for lying. The knight smugly blamed it all on Scoven's lies. None of it would have happened otherwise. Though silent, Ghislaine's mind simmered with deep disdain for Kane. Kane, once Ghislaine's subordinate, had a knack for chaos, but no one dared call him out thanks to his alliance status. Kane's swagger earned respect while Ghislaine faced constant criticism, buried under his own insecurities. Switching gears to Kane's point of view now, Kane was stunned by Ghislaine's restraint, knowing most would have charged headfirst by now. Flashback to earlier days in Logis County, Kane received a hit order on Ghislaine. A shady hooded figure, scolded for past failures, dangled support for Logis if Kane completed the hit. Kane claimed Ghislaine was an easy target but worried about the political mess killing a fellow heir could cause. The hooded figure suggested a duel trap disguised as an accident. The plan was a petty air spat, with the hooded man playing escort knight to keep things under wraps. Kane was oddly thrilled at the idea of offing his cousin and agreed without hesitation. Now, Kane mulled over the reasons behind the hit order. He guessed Ghislaine might have changed enough to become a threat. Either way, Kane pushed forward, goading Ghislaine for a reaction. Facing off, Kane hinted at arrangements, a mystery Ghislaine hadn't a clue about. Kane brought up the festival's interruption, suggesting they shake things up, reminding how they always clicked on moments like this. Ghislaine barely reacted, hinting slyly that Kane probably meant alcohol. Kane had a habit of sending Ghislaine to arrange drinks and companions whenever he dropped by. Back then, Ghislaine complied to avoid trouble, but now he wasn't about to play doormat again. Kane's antics drained Ghislaine's funds, earning him a shutdown of his allowance from Dad. At last, Ghislaine pinpointed Kane as the money drain and figured he could fix the problem too. Kane kept pushing, demanding Ghislaine deliver the goods immediately. Ghislaine played along, promising to bring the goods eventually. First, though, he wanted Kane to settle his debts. Even the hooded figure sensed the serious vibe gave off. Kane's smirk faded, curious about these so-called debts. Ghislaine smiled sweetly, reminding Kane of all the cash he'd fronted. Now he wanted it back, a solid 1,000 gold. Kane was stunned. He figured everything barely cost 100 gold tops. Kane assumed Ghislaine helped because of friendship, a friends with benefits deal, basically. Ghislaine never saw it as friendship, just years of being a doormat. Now he wanted cash or trouble. The room went quiet. Even Ricardo was sweating bullets at Ghislaine's bold move. Kane shot up, rage boiling over. He hated Ghislaine's sudden confidence. Kane figured those rumors had gone straight to Ghislaine's head, still just a parasite in his eyes. Fist clenched, Kane was ready to end this leech for good. The punch came, but Ghislaine didn't even flinch. A slight tilt, and the blow slid harmlessly by. The scene was downright jaw-dropping. Kane threw a furious swing. Ghislaine ducked and landed a stinging open-handed punch to Kane's gut. The punch hit so hard Kane almost coughed up blood. The air swung back, but Kane froze mid-attack. Kane faked pain despite taking no hit. The hooded knight hurried to check Kane, though the giant looked anything but fine. Kane's massive pride took a serious hit. Ghislaine casually dismissed the fake pain. Kane kept up the act, clearly playing a game. The crowd froze, stunned that the weak heir handled Kane so easily. Ghislaine saw through Kane's act, knowing exactly what he was after. Kane smirked and asked his knight if the performance was convincing. The knight applauded the show, praising Kane's setup to blame Ghislaine. Perfect groundwork to demand a duel. Kane was eager. Taking down Ghislaine meant gaining powerful allies. He played along, throwing down the glove and stirring the pot to demand a duel. Before Kane could act, Ghislaine threw the glove at him, issuing the challenge. Insulted and attacked, Ghislaine insisted on settling things with a duel. Kane's silence flipped into a smirk. He thought Ghislaine just sealed his fate. Naturally, Kane accepted without hesitation. Ghislaine's confident grin stayed as he told Ricardo to gather the protesting merchants. He planned to turn the duel into a money-making spectacle for the merchants. The festival's sudden cancellation left the mood deflated. Tourists lingered, stuck and frustrated with nowhere to spend their cash. Any event to ease their boredom would spark huge excitement. As Ghislaine stepped into the ring, the crowd erupted in wild cheers. Folks came from afar, and merchants finally started raking in cash from eager tourists. The chubby merchant who led the protest set up a betting table, ready for action. Most bets went to Kane, the safe choice in everyone's eyes. Kane gripped his massive sword. Annoyed, the duel felt more like a market show. He warned the fight wouldn't end even if Ghislaine surrendered. Ghislaine wasn't fazed. He knew Kane's goal was to kill, no games. With the crowd ready, Ghislaine signaled the duel to begin. Suddenly, the hooded knight interrupted, complaining the bets weren't fair. The crowd was puzzled until the fat merchant pointed out no one backed Ghislaine. Whispering spread. Everyone assumed Ghislaine was doomed from the start. Kane smirked. Amused, the market ignored Ghislaine. They tweaked the betting rules for fairness. Then Commander Scovin shocked everyone, throwing down a bag of cash for Ghislaine. Lady Elena followed, betting heavily on her brother too. Scovin's arrival was expected. Elena's appearance stunned everyone, including Ghislaine himself. She checked if her bet was enough, and the merchant nodded humbly. With bets on both sides, Kane grudgingly agreed to start the duel. The duel kicked off, Ghislaine letting Kane strike first out of courtesy. Ghislaine played the big brother, offering Kane the first move. Kane was baffled but swung confidently. Kane fell silent, taking the bait. He charged like a bull, swinging his massive sword down hard. Their swords met, Kane throwing all his might into the clash. Ghislaine barely budged. Kane swung wildly again, but Ghislaine dodged with ease. Kane tried a flying kick next, but Ghislaine simply sidestepped. After a brief exchange, they both stepped back. Kane's grin screamed confidence. Belinda wiped sweat, worried by the brutal fight, begging someone to stop her brother. Meanwhile, the hooded knight was sure Ghislaine's days were numbered. The hooded knight was sure Ghislaine had walked right into Kane's trap the moment swords clashed. He expected Ghislaine to tire, dodging desperately, overwhelmed by Kane's raw power with no chance to strike back. Eventually, exhaustion would force Ghislaine to slip up and lose, just like Kane's many past victories. But Ghislaine matched brute strength with slick agility, slipping past every wild swing like it was nothing. Even Kane had to admit Ghislaine had gotten slippery. Frustrated, he pushed his strength to new heights. Kane went all out, gripping his blade's edge bare-handed and swinging with full force. Ghislaine dodged with his sword but got caught on the crossguard. An awkward moment. Kane slammed him sky-high with a brutal swing. The crowd gasped as Ghislaine soared, but only the hooded knight smiled, convinced it was over. Little did the knight know, his confident bet was about to be shattered. Mid-air, Ghislaine summoned mana into his legs like a pro. He landed clean and steady, no worse for wear. Ghislaine had held back, but now that Kane crossed the line, he was ready to turn up the heat. With lightning speed, he dashed past Kane like a blur. The hooded knight was dumbstruck, stunned by that smooth mana landing. Ghislaine saw Kane as a clueless brute, relying on raw power alone. Kane seemed to think scaring opponents with strength was enough to win. Ghislaine was set to prove strength wasn't the whole story. Feeling insulted, Kane charged again, furious and demanding to see Ghislaine's trick. Ghislaine planted his feet, kicked Kane's sword aside, then soared, and rained down swift strikes. Ghislaine slipped aside and stepped right over the blade. With Kane momentarily disarmed, Ghislaine struck cleanly. The duel paused as Kane bled from every hit, the fight's tide clearly turning. The crowd was stunned, finally realizing Ghislaine had leveled up big time. The crowd began to panic at the thought of Ghislaine actually winning. Elena beamed with pride, quietly reminding Belinda her worries were for nothing. Commander Scovin shared the pride, impressed by Ghislaine's skills. Meanwhile, the hoodie guy was the only one visibly sweating bullets. He noticed Ghislaine's wounds were shallow, clearly holding back on purpose. Kane felt mocked, unable to match the godlike swordplay on display. Ghislaine tossed his sword aside, ready to prove the skill gap by fighting barehanded. The humiliation stoked Kane's anger like gasoline on a fire. Ghislaine planned to school Kane with bare knuckles, turning the heat up. Confident Kane couldn't outsword him, Ghislaine took a barehanded handicap, Kane's specialty. Ghislaine raised the stakes with a 2,000 gold bet, doubling the original wager. The crowd buzzed uneasily over the barehanded challenge and massive bet. The hoodie guy wiped sweat, stunned that Ghislaine dared a barehanded challenge. Yet secretly, he still clung to hope Kane might pull off a win. The fat merchant called for more bets on the barehanded duel, with the crowd shifting toward Ghislaine. The crowd realized brute force isn't everything, placing their chips on Ghislaine. Kane stayed cocky but accepted the barehanded challenge without hesitation. Still clutching his sword, Cain planned to use it despite the challenge. Belinda panicked, urging Ghislaine to grab his sword fast. Cain swung hard, but Ghislaine stayed ice-cool, ready to respond. Ghislaine ducked just in time, moving so fast his shadow lagged behind. He struck Cain's leg hard, then followed with a brutal uppercut. Cain's face quickly turned bloody. The uppercut scrambled Cain's brain, sending a knee to the dirt. Cain hadn't even seen those punches coming, pure shock all around. The crowd buzzed with surprise, clearly loving the unexpected twist in the fight. Ghislaine radiated confidence, acting like the real show was just getting started. Cain's ego took a hit, jaw tightening as he lunged at Ghislaine again. Ghislaine simply slipped left and right, dodging like it was a dance. The fight moves looked straight out of a blockbuster action scene. Even narrating, it was hard to keep pace with those lightning-fast moves. Cain's every attack was met with counters and crushing hits, one after another. Cain recalled when Ghislaine once avoided his gaze, bowing low. Now, that respect was gone. Cain took hit after hit, a non-stop storm of punches from Ghislaine. He was basically the perfect punching bag. Bruises covered Cain head to toe. Even his mom wouldn't recognize him. Grabbing Cain by the hair, Ghislaine felt real pity for his poor family. Count Logos backed the Perdium house to the end, loyal to Ghislaine's father. But Ghislaine saw Cain was nothing like his honorable father. Flashback. Cain argued loudly with his father over wasted support for Perdium. Cain was annoyed, calling his father's loyalty a waste on dying land. Thus, less than a week after returning, Logos was already packing to aid Perdium again. Cain pleaded for his dad to stay, frustrated by his stubborn loyalty. His father calmly said it was simple friendship driving his actions. Back in the present, Ghislaine clenched his fist, eyes locked on Cain. Surprisingly, that fist wasn't for smashing Cain's face. It was an unexpected gesture, a hand offered in friendship. Nobody saw that friendly move coming. Even more shocking, Cain accepted the gesture and conceded defeat. House Perdium watched fascinated as the young master finally secured a win, while Elena's joy was unmistakable. The hooded man rushed over to Cain, unloading frustration at his quick surrender. He questioned Cain's early defeat over just a minor setback. Cain ignored him, turning away with a clear message. He was done playing that game. The hooded man fretted over how Cain would face his superiors after this loss. Suddenly, Ghislaine appeared, ready to stir things up with the hooded man. The hooded guy was clueless about Ghislaine's next move. Ghislaine loudly announced the hooded man would cover all the meat and drinks for the crowd. The hooded man panicked while the crowd cheered the promise of free food and drink. The hooded man protested, denying any agreement and demanding Ghislaine retract the claim. Ghislaine calmly put a hand on his shoulder, reminding him this was the duel's cost. He made it clear the 2,000 gold for drinks was extra, on top of the original 1,000 gold bet. Ghislaine's warning about running off was no joke, his glare deadly serious. That fierce image of Ghislaine seared itself into the hooded man's mind. The next day, Ghislaine stared at a chest overflowing with glittering gold coins. The sum was huge, enough to hire a small mercenary force, no exaggeration. Time was tight, enemies weren't waiting, so his plan had to roll out fast. Belinda and his sister approached, smiling with hints of secret agendas behind their eyes. He asked their purpose. His sister coyly inquired about his spending plans. Ghislaine caught her drift and teased if she wanted some. She just played innocent. Belinda guessed he'd splash the cash on something big soon. She figured his big spend would be for Lady Amelia's birthday, his fiancée. But Ghislaine's mind was nowhere near such plans. The word fiancé threw him for a loop. He couldn't even recall if he had a fiancée at all. The maid chuckled softly, sensing his feigned cluelessness from embarrassment. Elena, noting his recent absent-mindedness, gently reminded him it was about Amelia of Rayfold County. The name sparked distant memories for Ghislaine, none of them pleasant. Amelia Rayfold's reputation was flawless, a noble admired for kindness and earning unwavering support from all her people. But Ghislaine remembered the darker truth. Amelia became the Witch of the North, betraying Perdium and shattering his family's legacy. No tender fiancé to him. He asked Belinda about his father's return. She guessed it'd be about a week. A week's wait was enough. Ghislaine planned a trip to Rayfold County. Belinda wondered why he left early. His birthday wasn't even here yet. Ghislaine simply said he was after some money from them. Later, Amelia Rayfold appeared on the scene. She seemed cold at first glance, but her presence was impossible to ignore. In town, Amelia offered her own sandals to a poor girl who hesitated, unsure if she should accept. Amelia quietly insisted if anyone walked barefoot there, it should be her, not the girl. Amelia ordered her soldiers to provide food and shelter immediately, and they moved swiftly. Walking away with her guards, the crowd's grateful voices followed her. At Rayfold's garden, Amelia's escort, Bernaf, washed her feet with enviable devotion. Bernaf, proud of her achievements, served faithfully as her escort knight. Amelia noted her father's demand for absolute obedience among his people. Yet, she believed people followed whoever kept them fed and safe. Bernaf agreed she'd won hearts, a big advantage for the upcoming succession contest. Amelia, unimpressed, promptly shoved her feet into his face with a cruel grin. She grilled him about his duel against the North's finest swordsman. Bernaf admitted losing on purpose to keep a low profile. The time wasn't right for her true power to show. He kissed her feet, pledging loyalty. She expected nothing less after all she'd invested in him. Amelia shifted focus, probing about the merchant's status. Bernath assured the Arctic Merchant Guild handled all supplies for the Forest of Beasts rebuild, recovering Count Rafel's yearly support funds. He was scooping up skilled knights deserting Perdium, veterans hardened by battles with barbarian tribes. Her plan to drain Perdium was working perfectly. She urged him to keep the Merchant Guild act airtight until their power peaked. The butler barged in uninvited, ruffling the knight's calm with his unexpected arrival. The butler dropped urgent news. Young Lord Ghislaine had just arrived at the castle gate. Though officially her fiancé, the name brought no joy. She grilled the butler on the visit's purpose. The butler nervously confessed Ghislaine came to talk about the Merchant Guild. Shock widened the eyes of both the lady and Bernath. The scene shifted to the visitor's room, her seated opposite Ghislaine. Ghislaine slouched casually, greeting her with relaxed ease. Her scornful glare made it clear he still hadn't mastered manners by dropping in unannounced. He claimed it was an early birthday gift, trying to soften the awkward entrance. Placing a flower on the table, he praised its scent from the local merchant guild, planning to buy there regularly. If memory served, the guild was called Arxium. She instantly caught his meaning beneath the floral gesture, yet she feigned ignorance, pretending not to get the hint. Gift in hand, she declared her exit and started to leave. Just then, Ghislaine's serious tone stopped her, ordering her to stay seated. She immediately sensed the rare, heavy pressure radiating from him. Oddly, this intense aura came from the same guy who once shrank in her presence. Without fuss, he demanded a hefty 10,000 gold coins. She wasn't thrilled by his sudden big money ask, suspecting his father's involvement. He quickly denied it. He was well aware she had zero plans to marry him. Confident in her moves, he saw her as a strong contender for the lordship. He warned subtly, rumors of her secret power grabs could cost her the succession. Unsurprisingly, this set her blood boiling. She shot him a death glare, making it clear that such jokes were off limits. He promised silence if he got paid, but she stayed cool, confident she knew how to handle him. She summoned her knight Bernath, who appeared promptly, all manners and loyalty. Bernath greeted Lord Ghislaine with proper courtesy, never missing a beat. Inside Ghislaine's mind, he was always Amelia's shadow, skilled enough to rival the finest northern swordsman. He warned that killing him now could spark war, questioning if she had time for that so close to succession. Amelia had a plan. Blame the death on a ruffian causing chaos, dealt with by her escort knight, perfect cover story. Confident, she ordered Bernath to take him down without hesitation. Bernath gladly drew his sword, ready to obey. Ghislaine wasn't about to back down either. He decided to match her seriousness, preparing for a real fight. Just as a legendary duel was about to begin, the knight had other sneaky ideas up his sleeve. Rustling caught Ghislaine off guard. An assassin leapt from empty armor, stabbing into the sofa inches from him. Too slow, the assassin got rolled, kicked, and unceremoniously tossed out the window. Both Amelia and Bernath gawked, stunned by Ghislaine's slick reflexes. Ghislaine was disgusted by the fake politeness hiding the surprise attack. He wasted no time lunging at Bernath, sparking a fierce sword clash. Ghislaine questioned Bernath's manners, wondering if chivalry had been forgotten. Bernath apologized but pointed out Ghislaine's rude, unannounced arrival and empty threats. They traded blows, but Ghislaine's ninja-level reflexes gave him the edge. One sharp kick sent Bernath stumbling back. Bernath had underestimated him, expecting talk without talent. Reality hit. Ghislaine was no rookie but a formidable fighter. Amelia's patience wore thin, watching her knight struggle against the brat. She snarled orders to end the fight fast and deliver the brat's head. Proof of loyalty. The knight stepped up, treating this as a matter of his lady's pride. Determined not to let her down, he dared Ghislaine to bring it on. Ghislaine smirked, amused that a mere escort knight was trying to boss him. Since the knight was calling him out, Ghislaine was more than ready to deliver. The duel resumed, blades flashing in a fierce, deadly dance. This time, the knight unleashed his full strength without mercy. A sharp strike grazed Ghislaine's face, leaving a nasty cut. His speed blurred reality, leaving only fleeting shadows behind. Amelia grew restless, stunned to see Ghislaine hold his own against Bernath. The once lousy punk now matched her knight blow for blow. The fight was so intense, a blink would make you miss the action. Both moved at lightning speed, impossible to track. Every strike from Ghislaine was met with a slick dodge. The knight's attacks were equally elusive, slipping past Ghislaine. The relentless back and forth went on without pause. Repeating his move, Ghislaine was slammed hard to the ground this time. The knight seized the moment, charging with sword raised. Ghislaine flipped and twisted, landing gracefully back on his feet. Ghislaine realized the knight was using mana to withstand his blows. The knight admitted Ghislaine's swordplay wasn't textbook, it screamed real battle experience. He wondered if Ghislaine's wild style came from fighting barbarians too often. The knight claimed that chaos tactics wouldn't work on someone like him. This time, the knight vowed to finish the fight once and for all. Ghislaine knew the battle was far from over. The The knight's precise, head-targeted thrust toyed with Ghislaine's timing and distance. Up close, the knight's size advantage made technique barely enough. Like facing a final boss with starter gear, Ghislaine wasn't quite ready for this fight yet. With no time to prep, Ghislaine cranked things up a notch, ready to push harder. A sharp mana string zipped just past the knight's ear, catching him off guard. Before the knight could react, Ghislaine swung a hidden sword, hitting him hard from behind. The hit was followed by a swift kick to the knight's face. Bernath stumbled, dazed by 2 solid hits, while Amelia looked on, stunned. Ghislaine launched himself down, but the knight's strong shove sent him flying. Bernath urgently told Amelia to flee. His protection was slipping fast. He vowed to fight with everything, warning Amelia she might get caught in the crossfire. Ghislaine was fired up too. This opponent was the most fun had in ages. Meanwhile, Amelia fled down the corridor, cat in tow, looking thoroughly rattled. Her distress was clear. How dare Ghislaine humiliate her like this? She was clueless who spilled the Merchant Guild's secrets. Ghislaine couldn't know so much alone. Rumors flew. Slaying orcs, shielding his sister, beating Logis' heir. It sounded wild. Given his past, she'd chalked it up to luck or exaggeration. Now she had to admit he'd improved. She noticed the guards were nowhere to be found, which only fueled her irritation. Soon she spotted the guards knocked out cold courtesy of Belinda. Amelia froze as Belinda pressed a dagger to her throat, surprise written all over her face. Belinda's gaze caught a spider dangling near Amelia's face. She snatched the spider, clearly unimpressed with the creepy crawler. Belinda recalled overhearing Amelia's engagement ceremony talk between Count Rayfold and Lord Perdium. Apparently, Amelia's siblings mocked her for the spiders, so she raised them for a little payback. Belinda wondered if Amelia's spiders were therapy or a bold statement. Belinda offered a rough apology but told Amelia those spiders just didn't suit her. With no ceremony, Belinda crushed the spider underfoot. Belinda crushed the spider and demanded cooperation, but before details emerged, the focus snapped back to the heated duel between the two fighters. The night thickened with an ominous energy, setting a heavy tone over the battleground. The charged air and surging mana had Ghislaine visibly tense, weighing the fight's growing danger. The knight seethed, offended by being called entertaining, a slight only a lowly mercenary might make. He hated that someone so low dared claim noble blood and stand equal to Amelia. Ghislaine knew his noble roots and wasn't about to let a mere escort knight belittle him. Bernath charged forward, swords clashing sharply as the battle resumed. Bernath's fury boiled, convinced Ghislaine was mocking the noble class. He unleashed relentless strikes, each blow fueled by rage. Ghislaine admired Bernath's fierce strength but had no intention to back down. He matched aggression with aggression, swordplay blazing. The knight wasn't holding back anymore. This fight was serious now. One swing forced Ghislaine back, then a swift follow-up landed a sharp hit. Time seemed to pause as the blade grazed Ghislaine's shoulder, blood spurting. Bernath was stunned as Ghislaine used his injured shoulder to shove the blade aside. Ghislaine quickly countered, shoving the knight back a few steps. Bernath mocked before landing a sharp kick that caught Ghislaine off guard. He taunted that this was the difference between a true warrior and a play-acting brat. The kick sent Ghislaine sprawling, but he refused to fall. The knight controlled the fight with speed and precision, while Ghislaine found the chaos oddly entertaining. Close grapples failed, their swords locked tight, making the knight sure they couldn't be pried apart. Ghislaine lacked the mana to match strength now, but kept calm, saving his secret mana technique for the right moment. Suddenly, Ghislaine unleashed his third mana core, tipping the fight's balance. A single strike sent the knight's sword flying, leaving him shocked and weaponless. Bernath could only marvel at how explosively Ghislaine wielded his mana mid-fight. With Bernath disarmed, Ghislaine held his sword over the stunned knight's head, stopping him cold. Belinda suddenly dragged a tearful Amelia into the chaotic scene. Amelia, humbled and teary, agreed to pay 10,000 gold and begged them to disappear immediately. Ghislaine was relieved but annoyed it took this mess. Things would have been simpler if Amelia had just said yes sooner. He sheathed his sword and approached Amelia, ready with some unwelcome news. The price, he made clear, had doubled to 20,000 gold. After the showdown, Amelia's palace looked like a tornado had passed through. She vented by throwing things around in pure frustration. Losing the fight wasn't enough, now she had to cough up double the gold. Bernath admitted underestimating Ghislaine's strength, and took blame for misjudging him, acknowledging Ghislaine surpassed even skilled knights. Amelia's displeasure was obvious at that confession. Bernath suggested reporting to the Delphine Duchy, earning an immediate slap from Amelia. Grabbing his collar, Amelia's fury revealed her fear. Any news to Duke Delphine would ruin her. Amelia's secret alliance with Duke Delphine aimed to fuel her rebellion, with promises of support in exchange for bringing down Perdium. Exposure would mean death by siblings. Knowing Ghislaine might have her secrets, Amelia vowed to stop him at all costs. Bernath reported Ghislaine's injuries. Light wounds overall, serious shoulder damage. Ghislaine's massive mana use meant recovery would take a while. To erase Ghislaine quietly, they couldn't rely on local knights. Amelia anticipated this, training a secret squad for such covert ops. Bernath was clueless about them, so Amelia mentioned the Wildcats. The Wildcats were skilled war orphans and outcasts, elite fighters with no ties but raw talent. Amelia ordered Bernath to gather a dozen Wildcats at a marked spot on the map. Only mana experts would do. The deployment spot was perfect for Bernath's plan. That ravine was the sole tight route from Rayfold to Perdium. Remote and narrow, it was ideal for discreet action. Bernath wasted no time kicking off the plan. Amelia's determination to make Ghislaine pay for the humiliation burned hotter than ever. Meanwhile, Ghislaine had already slipped away from Amelia's crumbling palace. In the carriage, Ghislaine wrapped his wounds while Fergus and Belinda hovered nearby, offering worried glances he brushed off with quiet confidence. The cuts were shallow, minor damage after pushing himself to the limit. Relief settled in as 20,000 gold promised a solid foundation to rebuild, a windfall worth years of hard work. Taking Amelia out would have been ideal, but Ghislaine knew war was a risk he couldn't afford. A moment's impulse couldn't risk his territory's safety. With Perdium already tied up fighting barbarians, laying low was the smarter move. Holding the Archean Merchant Guild's secret was already a heavy lever against Amelia. Belinda's worried eyes silently checked if the plan was unfolding as hoped. She recalled orders to quietly neutralize guards and capture Amelia once she emerged. Ghislaine nodded, confirming every detail. Suddenly, a sharp pain hit, forcing Ghislaine to cough up blood. The recoil from activating his third core hurt, though better than before. Still, this couldn't become routine. Faster mana growth was a must. Belinda snapped into action, spotting the chaotic mana flow in his body. With lightning speed, she stabbed a needle into his hand's back. Surprisingly, it felt healing. After she finished, Ghislaine exhaled smoke and relaxed. The tangled mana pathways eased, opening up slightly. The technique was impressive, requiring deep mana mastery few possessed. Thanks to his mother's influence, Belinda's skills made sense. Yet Ghislaine still wondered why such talent hid away as a rural headmate. Regardless, having skilled allies like her was a blessing. After all, these enemies were only the opening act. Belinda promised unwavering support, trusting him without hesitation. She insisted on knowing why he'd taken such a hefty sum from Amelia. Ghislaine admitted he needed funds, and Amelia, being the richest, was the easiest target. Both subordinates exchanged puzzled glances, struggling to wrap their heads around his plan. Breaking the engagement over money sounded reckless, especially with Count Rafol's wrath looming. Ghislaine cracked a sly smile, silently challenging Belinda's trust in him. Belinda rolled her eyes but stood firm, expecting at least a hint of his plan with the gold. His single-word answer, "Forest of Beasts," left her speechless and wide-eyed. Ghislaine confidently revealed his intent to pioneer that wild, infamous forest. Fergus nearly jumped, warning that attempts to tame the forest had stalled since his great-grandfather's days. Ghislaine calmly reminded Fergus about the special favor he'd asked for. Fergus caught on but hesitated, weighing the risks before speaking. Finally, Fergus confirmed the target was indeed at the specified place. Uncertain if anyone visited, Fergus's doubt didn't shake Ghislaine's resolve to meet him no matter what. Belinda insisted on retreat, worried Ghislaine's battered state wasn't fit for wandering. Ghislaine countered, sure Amelia wouldn't let them walk away alive after all they'd done. She puffed up, confident her scrappy strength and Fergus's sword arm had their backs. Still, Ghislaine knew he needed a real vanguard, not just muscle, heading straight to meet one now. Later, the group arrived at a lone, weathered shack, no bells or whistles. A knock came, but silence answered back like the house was empty. Though it seemed abandoned, Fergus confirmed it was the right spot. At last, a man appeared, face buried under a thick, wild beard. His first move questioning the unexpected visitors with a wary glare. The group got uneasy, but Ghislaine stayed stone-faced, unreadable as ever. Belinda doubted this scruffy man's fighting chops, but Ghislaine's confidence settled the doubt. This was their man. Fergus cut through the tension, bluntly telling Ghislaine to quit wasting time and move on. That's when the bearded man revealed his true identity. The ex-captain of the Regressed Mercenaries, Gillian himself. The old man's interest instantly sparked at hearing his own title. Ghislaine offered a warm hand, silently inviting him to join their cause. Shock rippled through the old man and driver at the legendary name. The Regressed Mercenaries were elite, only master warriors with every weapon made the cut. Their legacy lingered, whispered among knights even from faraway lands. Their famed captain was none other than Gillian himself. Meeting this man was Ghislaine's mission from the start. An axe flew, but Ghislaine barely moved, letting it whoosh harmlessly by. Instantly, the team went on high alert. They closed ranks, weapons ready to face any threat. Gillian cut to the chase, demanding to know Ghislaine's purpose. Belinda stepped forward, convinced this guy was a total wild card. Ghislaine dropped the bomb, the eternal punishment disease, and a cure for it. That grabbed Gillian's full attention. The disease brought fever, bloody coughs, and red spots blooming like flowers. Her suffering looked like divine punishment. That's why the disease got its name. The girl screamed in agony, and Gillian rushed inside to care for Rachel. Ghislaine sensed hope. Her fate wasn't sealed yet. Before, Ghislaine tried recruiting Jillian, but grief had pushed him to the edge. The rundown shack spoke volumes. Every coin had gone to Rachel's care. Only his weapons remained as his true possessions. Rachel's cries begged her father to end the unbearable pain. Ghislaine moved to start treatment, but Belinda pulled him back, wary of rushing in. She doubted brute force would fix what even priests failed to cure. Called a divine punishment, this disease defied cure, yet Ghislaine pulled free, confident he had the answer. He nudged Belinda to honor her claim of trust, leaving her no wiggle room. Belinda's protest quietly died down, no arguing now. He passed her a list of rare herbs, tasking her with fetching them. Her eyes widened briefly at the daunting herbal list. Knowledge was survival for a wandering mercenary without roots, explaining his herb expertise. Though incurable now, the eternal punishment cure had once been hot gossip for its simple method, etched in his memory. The snag, sky-high ingredient costs, especially the elusive fairy's blessing herb. With herbs in hand, he chopped and bottled them, soaking everything in distilled alcohol. A vigorous shake followed, then a patient wait for the potion to meld. After adding the last bits and stirring, the remedy was ready to work its magic. He handed the potion to Gillian, urging him to administer it to his daughter. With no hesitation, Gillian fed the medicine to his suffering daughter. As it settled, the potion's effects quietly kicked in. Her battered skin slowly healed, stunning everyone into silence. The transformation was nothing short of unbelievable. Even Gillian hadn't dared hope the cure would actually work. Meanwhile, Ghislaine remained quietly confident all along. Gillian asked how Ghislaine knew a cure beyond divine power's reach. Ghislaine explained divine magic boosts healing, but isn't the same as a true cure. Trembling, Gillian reached out, desperate for confirmation his daughter could heal. Ghislaine gave the reassuring answer Gillian desperately needed. Promising a full cure in months, Gillian's disbelief turned to stunned hope. Despite his size, Gillian dropped to his knees, humbled, and asked what was owed. The journey couldn't be for free. Ghislaine must have a motive. Gillian admitted he had little to offer besides loyalty, willing to serve as Ghislaine's devoted shadow. Ghislaine made it clear he wasn't after a servant, but the legendary captain of the Regressed Mercenaries, Gillian himself. The old man looked up, startled to meet the determined eyes of a dreamer. Gillian rose swiftly, grabbing his axe and tossing back his long ponytail. Standing tall, he radiated raw power and unshakable confidence. He checked if others had arrived. Ghislaine confirmed it was just their small group. Gillian asked about enemies. Ghislaine didn't hesitate. There were plenty, and more to come. Without missing a beat, Gillian charged his harpoon with mana and flung it at lightning speed. The harpoon pierced the hut and disappeared into the forest beyond. Pulling back the rope, a man caught on the barb surfaced, caught red-handed. Gillian's grip was iron-tight as he demanded the intruder's mastermind. The spy's surprise was more about how Gillian found him in the first place. Gillian consulted Ghislaine, who claimed to know the sender but hoped to avoid bloodshed today. Though reluctant, Ghislaine conceded, but Gillian promised to handle the intruder without fuss. Gillian's crushing hold silenced the spy's protests with echoes through the woods. Task complete, Gillian bowed with quiet respect to his new master. Belinda was shaken, uneasy about how easily Gillian ended a life, questioning the choice to recruit him. The giant knelt, pledging his life and loyalty to Ghislaine without hesitation. Ghislaine responded with a confident smile, ready to move forward together. The focus shifted to a lone hut deep in the swamp's mist. Inside, wildcat traffickers buzzed with shock. One of their recon units was dead. Virgo's squad captain called for calm and questioned whether the recon team slipped up or the intel had failed. The reporter dropped a bomb. Gillian had joined Ghislaine's crew. Virgo's anger flared, gripping the reporter's throat demanding proof. The reporter gasped out a shaky confirmation, swearing he saw it firsthand. Fascinated, Virgo never thought the giant would return to the fight, especially since he'd once been ready to task himself. The scene shifts back to the party with Gillian firmly in control of the carriage reins. Belinda felt boxed in, surrounded by a mountain of weapons crammed inside the carriage. She questioned if Gillian really needed all that gear. Maybe he was moonlighting as an arms dealer. Fergus and Ricardo kept watch from the rear carriage, playing the ever-vigilant rear guard. Meanwhile, Ghislaine hinted to Belinda that those weapons wouldn't go to waste anytime soon. Their priority was clear: escape the rift in one piece. Belinda raised concern over the captured spy, convinced Amelia was behind it. The spy's mask bore the infamous Wildcat Traffickers mark, a notorious Rayfold guild. Known for smuggling, hits, drugs, and worse, the Wildcats were Rayfold's top-tier scumbags. Packed with ex-mercenaries, they were a stealthy guild with serious muscle. Ghislaine was surprised by Belinda's knowledge, who shrugged it off as castle gossip. She warned that the enemy wouldn't quit easily, so caution was essential. Ghislaine appreciated her concern and felt safer with Gillian around. Just as the ground began to tremble, two assassins surfaced, tailing their carriage from opposite sides. Suddenly, they burst from the sand, launching an attack on Gillian. The giant grabbed a sword and an axe, ready to make quick work of them. He effortlessly blocked both strikes fired at once. With a swift twist, his weapons tore the assassin's arms right off. The next move sliced through both attackers like they were paper. More assassins appeared, springing deadly traps with practiced ease. Massive logs crashed down, threatening to crush the party. Gillian yanked the reins, taking full control. The horses slammed to a sudden halt under his firm command. Within seconds, the area swarmed with assassins wielding deadly hidden weapons. Virgo casually dropped that Gillian was once captain of the feared Regressed Mercenaries. Virgo mocked Gillian as a coward for breaking up the group over his daughter. Gillian showed zero patience for the stranger's insults. Virgo lamented his unwanted new life, accusing Gillian of pretending to forget old ties. Gillian appeared genuinely clueless about this odd man. Virgo bet Gillian was faking and ordered his men to attack, eager to jog his memory. Ghislaine offered help, but Virgo waved it off. This fight was Gillian's alone. Once the attackers closed in, Gillian sliced through them like chopping veggies. More foes rushed from behind, but Gillian met the first with a deadly strike. The next attacker lost his hands in a brutal, quick twist. Virgo expected this. Direct hits were pointless on the seasoned Regressed captain. He commanded his men to flank Gillian from both sides. Gillian mounted his horse and charged, axe ready to mow them down. One swing erased any chance of foes reaching him. Frustrated, the attackers targeted his horse instead. Their plan failed miserably. His axe spun like a blender, leaving a trail of carnage behind. Virgo joined the fight, but Gillian shielded himself effortlessly. Burning with hatred, Virgo vowed Gillian would pay for ruining his life and plans. Gillian's death was now a necessity. Virgo slew Gillian's horse, but the giant landed safely on his feet. Without hesitation, Virgo charged with blade raised. Gillian blocked the attack swiftly with his axe. Mid-fight, Gillian reminded Virgo he'd lost his captaincy, then crushed him with a powerful blow and tossed him aside. Virgo was left battered and broken after one hit. Gasping blood, Virgo weakly demanded to know who'd taken his place. Gillian calmly channeled mana, making it clear his past no longer defined him. Now he answered only to young Lord Gisland. Virgo was left utterly baffled. Enraged, Virgo charged, stunned by Gillian's chill attitude despite his ruined life. Their brutal fight resumed, but Virgo's frustration made him clearly the weaker fighter. Virgo blamed Gillian for the mercenary company's fall and his own bitter survival. Gillian ignored the accusations, focused solely on the fight. Strike after strike came from Gillian until Virgo landed a kick, shattering his shield. Virgo confessed he had sacrificed everything to make the Regressed legendary. He accused Gillian of wasting it all to serve as spoiled noble forgiveness off the table. Virgo tossed his deadly daggers, but Gillian's axe deflected them like toys. Virgo lunged with a dagger, but it whizzed past Gillian as the fight raged. Despite Gillian's strength, Virgo believed Gillian had lost the edge he once wielded as captain. While Gillian cared for his daughter, Virgo toughened himself through endless battles. Virgo thought this budget Zeus was no challenge anymore. Snatching the daggers, Virgo hurled them straight at Gillian again. Gillian caught each dagger barehanded like it was nothing. Virgo charged, but Gillian met him with another powerful axe swing. Virgo dodged just in time, nearly grazing Gillian's skull. Gillian infused mana into his hand, halting a dagger mid-flight. He silently challenged Virgo's narrow reason for revenge. Surprised by Gillian's hidden power, Virgo barely reacted before a brutal axe strike sent him crashing into a tree. Calm and firm, Gillian questioned why Virgo hadn't sought revenge sooner. Virgo sneered, admitting he'd searched Gillian's old home, finding no sign of the ex-captain. Only a frail old man remained, barely worth the effort of a fight. The harsh truth hit hard. Virgo's once-respected mentor was all but gone. Recognizing Virgo's warrior spirit, Gillian tossed him a sword and drew a new blade. He acknowledged Virgo's new loyalty, but honored him now as Regressed captain once did. Virgo felt this moment was a long-awaited dream fulfilled. Grabbing the dagger, Virgo dove eagerly into the fight. Their weapons met in a furious dance, sparks flying from rapid strikes. Evenly matched, they battled until Gillian landed a fierce strike. Gillian's blade drove hard into Virgo's ribs. Still, Virgo's resolve held strong, refusing to fall. Virgo countered fiercely but couldn't stop Gillian's deadly final move. At the crucial moment, Gillian broke the silence. He vowed to honor Virgo forever as Regressed's 5th unit commander. Pride swelled in Virgo, a last proud smile before his life was claimed. With the fight done, Gillian collected Virgo's dagger. Ghislaine and Belinda stepped out, instantly spotting the pile of loot-worthy corpses. Gillian apologized for delays, but reassurance came. No worries on that front. The true extent of Gillian's skills now clearly impressed everyone present. Back when Gisland started out, tales of Gillian had fueled his own mercenary dreams. Gratitude grew for having gained such a steadfast ally so swiftly. Seeing the dagger in Gillian's hand, curiosity sparked. Did he know the owner? Gillian confirmed their shared past, old comrades from earlier days. Memories of comrades sparked Gisland's thoughts about old friends from before. Wondering about their fates, he resolved to track and recruit those lost friends. With the path clear, plans to loot kicked off. Belinda ordered Gillian to lead, who quickly reminded her he answers to no one but himself. After a long journey, the party finally crossed into Perdium territory 2 days later. The brute checked if this was Perdium, and the confirmation came without fuss. Their destination was finally reached. Thailand glimpsed his homeland through the carriage window, comforted by the thought of a place to call home. Once thinking he could return whenever, Gislen now realized how wrong that was. He asked Jillian's take, who hesitated and simply said it looked fine. Deep down, they both knew Perdium was a mess, Jillian reluctant to admit just how bad it had become. Crumbling houses, barren fields, and empty farms revealed a land starved for care, drained by endless conscriptions. Jillian shared rumors of constant war with northern barbarians, though reality proved far worse than any tale. Gislen declared this decay must end, relying on the Reitada's captain's strength to fix what was broken. Knowing the fight would be long and fierce, Gislen vowed to restore the land and uproot Duke Delphine's shadow. But an unexpected figure blocked their path near the castle. The man standing before them was none other than Gislen's long-lost father, missing since day one. This is the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Before you go, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button until explosion. See you on the next video.